Hello and welcome. We're to part 27. We're to part 27 of 32 of my NFL ranking series, and for this one we have the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers coming in sixth after they finished a 13-4 season where they were kind of disappointing in the divisional round. It seemed like they did whatever they needed to win every single game, and Aaron Rodgers played really, really good as he got his second MVP in a row. When it comes to this upcoming season and what the Packers do, I think they're gonna maybe take a step or two back because they did lose Davante Adams. Aaron Rodgers is the reigning back-to-back MVP, so losing Vontae Adams might hurt him a little bit, but this Packers team has one of the better defenses they had in a while. So as long as Aaron Rodgers can do similar to what he did last year with a lesser of a receiving core, then the Packers are probably looking forward to having another good year. So like I said, they finished last year with a 13-4 record, and they ended up losing divisional to San Francisco by a field goal. And I mean, that was one of Aaron Rodgers' games. But I mean, for the most part during the season, I mean, if you look at the stats, there are some games it doesn't seem like he's shown out too well or did too much. But I mean, pretty much every game he did enough for what he had to do to win. I mean, they got shocked week one by the Saints, and that made everyone think, oh, is this team actually going to be what they were last year? Are they still going to be any good? And then they went on to win 6 or 7 in a row. And then their losses to Kansas City, the Vikings, and then that last week in Detroit was kind of shocking. I think that might have been a little. Regardless, though, this team still finished 13-4 and looked dominant throughout the year and managed. And it looked like no matter what they do, they just found ways to win games. I mean, the Arizona game was an awesome game to watch them win, and the Cincinnati game was another really good game to watch. I mean, Baltimore as well. I mean, there were just so many good games that they managed to do this year. For whatever reason, they were the number one seed again, and they lost in the divisional round to the 49ers. So between losing the year prior to Tom Brady, which is understandable, but then losing to San Fran this year, I mean, it was just, they've had a pretty disappointing past 2 years when it comes to how they've played so well, and then for some reason just they get to the playoffs and can't get it done. When it comes to the roster, I mean, their receiving core got a bit of a shakeup. They ended up getting Sammy Watkins, and they still have Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb. Still have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon in the backfield with Robert Tonyan at tight end and also Rashidi Lewis at tight end. So, I mean, other than the receiving core, most of this team is the same, and it's going to be interesting to see if Bakhtiari comes back this year. Between Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, there's been a lot of good things said about them, so it's going to be interesting to see which one of those two takes a big step up this year. There's been a lot about Romeo Doubs, so that's going to be something to keep the eye on. And then when it comes to the defense, this is supposed to be apparently one of their best defenses they've had in a while. They have Adrian Amos, Darnell Savage, they still have Rasul Douglas and Jair Alexander, Rashawn Gary. I mean, this team, especially their back end is really, really nice. So this team has a really good team, and I mean, what can you say about them? They've had 2 really, really good years. I mean, they lose Davante Adams, and him being one of the best, if not the best wide receiver in football, that's gonna obviously hurt a little bit. But if Aaron Rodgers is as good as he has proven, then I mean, he should do okay without him. I mean, it might hurt them in the win column by a win or two, but I mean, regardless, it's still a really good team that has some really promising hopes for them. So when it comes to 2022, like I said, I think this team's going to be probably basically, I think the rest of the line, about all these teams are probably going to have about 11 to 13 wins-ish. It's just going to be where do these losses happen. So, for example, I think the Rams are going to be in a similar boat where they have about the same wins, maybe one or two more than the Packers, but it's going to be interesting to see who wins that matchup and who's going to do that. I think the same goes with the Bucs. Yeah, if you look at this Packers schedule, I mean, yes, the Vikings are going to be tough division games for them, but I mean, and Chicago will probably be a little tough. I mean, Aaron Rodgers usually beats them, so. But yeah, they play both New York teams. I mean, they play Washington, Detroit twice. So, I mean, the Detroit is still in the division too, and they're looking to take a step up, so that could be a tough game. I mean, regardless, their schedule is not the toughest. I mean, they do have some tough here and there, but. And then another benefit for them, too, is they have their bye week, week 14. So they have a late bye week in the year. That's probably going to be very helpful to get some late rest for some players. I just mean, this team has basically almost all they need to go. I mean, losing Davante Adams obviously is a huge, huge piece, but they still have one of the best quarterbacks. They still have one of the best quarterbacks to play the game, and I mean, he still is super, super dominant. When it comes to these last 2 teams, I mean, they're all hunting for the Super Bowl, obviously. These are some of the best rosters in the NFL, and they're trying to get to that Super Bowl and prove that they are one of the best teams in the NFL. So for the Packers, I mean, they have a really good roster still. They still have a lot of the names they had last year for that 13-4 team. They just happened to lose. They happened to lose Devontae Adams, but they were able to replace it. They were able to replace him with Sammy Watkins and then 2 young wide receivers. Are they going to be Devontae Adams? I mean, that's really hard to do. He was insane, and he's really, really good. But, I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers, so hopefully he can get the wide receivers the ball where they need it. And as long as they can keep making plays with them, I think the Packers are a good team. And with their defense being almost locked down and their defense being one of the best it's been in a while, it's going to be fun to see what the Packers do this year and if they can just get over that hump this year.